On March 15, 2026, a sophisticated cyber attack crippled power grids across 5 regions of Poland, affecting over 2 million citizens for 48 hours. Polish President Andrzej Duda condemned the act of hybrid aggression, attributing it to a state actor and highlighting simultaneous disinformation campaigns. This incident, following months of heightened cyber espionage, exemplifies the 2026 evolution of hybrid warfare, where non-military tactics like digital sabotage and information manipulation are increasingly deployed to destabilize nations. The attack has prompted urgent NATO discussions on updating collective defense doctrines to address these evolving, multi-domain threats. Russian forces seized control of the strategic city of Avdiivka in Ukraine's Donetsk Oblast on February 17, 2026, following a brutal 4-month siege. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky confirmed the withdrawal, citing overwhelming Russian numerical superiority and intense aerial bombardment that killed an estimated 3,000 Ukrainian defenders and civilians. This tactical victory, which ends Ukraine's decade-long hold on a key eastern stronghold, marks a significant shift in frontline dynamics and fuels renewed Western calls for accelerated military aid to Kyiv. The fall of Avdiivka underscores the immense human cost and persistent territorial challenges facing Ukraine as the conflict enters its 3rd year. A Russian missile strike on a residential district in central Kharkiv, Ukraine on March 18, 2026, killed at least 15 civilians and injured dozens more. Ukrainian emergency services reported extensive damage to apartment blocks, with rescue operations continuing for 36 hours amidst ongoing shelling. This attack, part of an intensified campaign targeting urban centers over the past week, has been condemned by UN aid agencies as a grave violation of international humanitarian law. The escalating violence in Kharkiv further exacerbates the region's severe humanitarian crisis, displacing thousands and straining aid efforts. The European Union formally adopted a framework on March 20, 2026, to accelerate Ukraine's path towards full membership, following Kyiv's application shortly after the 2022 Russian invasion. European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen hailed the decision in Brussels as a historic commitment, recognizing Ukraine's significant reforms amidst ongoing conflict. This move, a direct geopolitical consequence of the war, solidifies Ukraine's westward orientation and represents a powerful statement of European solidarity. The accelerated integration deepens Ukraine's ties with the EU, further isolating Russia and reshaping the continent's strategic landscape. Ukrainian forces have established extensive new fortified defensive lines across 1,000 kilometers of the Donbas front during early March 2026, particularly west of recently lost Avdiivka and Bakhmut. General Oleksandr Syrsky of the Ukrainian Armed Forces stated the objective is to exhaust the enemy and prevent further Russian advances into key supply routes. This strategic shift, documented by satellite imagery, signals Ukraine's intent to consolidate positions and transition to a more resilient defensive posture after recent territorial losses. The construction of these formidable barriers indicates an anticipated prolonged war of attrition and aims to stabilize the critical eastern front. 7 major industrial nations formalized long-term bilateral security agreements with Ukraine and Paris during January 2026, solidifying commitments made at the 2023 NATO Vilnius summit. French President Emmanuel Macron hosted the signing, which includes pledges of billions in military aid, intelligence sharing, and extensive training programs for Ukrainian forces. These pacts, positioning Ukraine firmly within Western security architecture, aim to bolster its defense capabilities against ongoing Russian aggression and ensure long-term stability at Europe's strategic crossroads. The agreements underscore a unified Western resolve to counter Russian influence and guarantee Ukraine's future as a sovereign, secure European state. Russia launched a significant spring offensive across eastern and southern Ukraine in early March 2026, exploiting diverted global attention following escalating military confrontations in the Persian Gulf involving Iran and Western powers. Russian forces, utilizing advanced drone swarms and missile strikes, have reportedly made territorial gains near Avdiivka and Zaporizhia, intensifying pressure on Ukrainian defenses. This coordinated offensive capitalizes on the West's strained resources and diplomatic focus, diminishing immediate support for Kyiv. The concurrent crises expose the interconnectedness of global security challenges, forcing allies to address multiple high-stakes conflicts simultaneously. Romania's political crisis deepened on March 17, 2026, after a no-confidence vote against Prime Minister Marcel Ciolacu's coalition government failed in parliament by just 15 votes. The opposition, led by the Alliance for the Union of Romanians, AUR, had accused the government of widespread corruption and economic mismanagement, triggering thousands to protest in Bucharest's Victory Square. This outcome prolongs the period of governmental instability, despite President Klaus Iohannis's call for national unity. The persistent public dissatisfaction and narrow parliamentary margin suggest continued political turbulence, potentially forcing early elections. Michigan's split government faces a critical test in late February 2026 as a key state budget bill remains deadlocked between the Democratic-controlled House and Republican-led Senate. Governor Gretchen Whitmer has urged lawmakers in Lansing to compromise on the $82 billion spending plan, which faces deep divisions over funding for infrastructure versus tax cuts. This legislative impasse, just months before significant midterm elections, highlights the challenges of divided governance and could impact essential state services. The inability to reach consensus threatens a partial government shutdown, with profound political ramifications for both parties at the ballot box. New York State Assemblyman Zohran Mamdani publicly challenged Elon Musk's content moderation policies on the X platform on March 10, 2026, sparking a viral exchange that reignited debates over free speech and platform responsibility. Mamdani, representing Astoria, Queens, criticized a recent policy update he argued disproportionately suppressed pro-Palestinian voices, prompting a direct and dismissive response from Musk. This high-profile confrontation, widely shared across social media, underscores the increasing role of tech moguls in shaping public discourse and the persistent scrutiny over the impartiality of major online platforms. The incident intensified calls for greater transparency and accountability from social media executives regarding content policies,